What's up, everybody? Got a barn update for you. Recently got some new equipment in here. Three of the main things that I installed are, one of which you can see behind me is a fold out power rack. So there's one behind me here and actually one on the other end of the camera that way, as well as a P4 pull-up system. Now, the reason that I went with the fold out squat rack is because it saves space on the floor. Now, a lot of pictures make the barn look really big, but in actuality, it's only about a 30 by 30 square foot space. Very high ceilings and everything, but that obviously doesn't lend to the floor space. So I have the opportunity to kind of take out a wall potentially and open up some more space underneath the loft behind the camera. But right now, I went with the fold out racks just so I could clear out more floor space, get more barbells on the floor, more rowers, bikes, those kind of things for when I'm working out in here and more people are working out in here. I thought about putting a rig in here, but for what I have right now, it's probably gonna take up too much space. So I just went with the fold out racks and went with the power rack, and it gives you a little bit more versatility versus just a standard rig, which is kind of why I went with the fold out rack. Not a very difficult install. If it's just one person, it takes a little bit of extra time to make sure you get your measurements right, make sure everything's lined up. I measured over and over and over and over again to make sure that things lined up well, and they both installed really easily, folds out really easily, doesn't take much time to set up and tear down, and again, it gives you that luxury of having more floor space for whatever you need. If you're in a garage and you want to park your car inside the garage as well as have a squat space for you and your buddies, you and your friends in your garage, then fold out rack is definitely the way to go. So I was able to clear out the yokes and the other squat rack with my pull-up bar on it, move those to the outside, gonna find another use for those or put them in a different spot around the barn for warmer weather, working out outside, those kind of things. And also installed a P4 pull-up bracket. In order to put in this pull-up bar, I had to take off a lot of these pieces of the wall and actually frame in this wall, because I didn't do that at first. At one point I was thinking about putting a rig in here and decided against it, so I needed a place to put pull-up bars and went with the P4 brackets. And in order to install them, I wanted to make sure that I had them secured to something nice and tight. So behind each one of these brackets is actually a stud or mount that I had to put in. There were no studs really on this wall, so I had to tear a lot of this stuff down and then put it back up with the studs behind the pull-up bar to make sure that they were secured and on there. So the P4 actually puts yourself further out away from the wall than some of the other pull-up systems that Rogue offers. And that helps with doing kipping movements like bar muscle ups, toes to bar, and keeps your feet away from the wall. Now, if you're a little bit taller person, you might have to hang something from the ceiling or hang from above out away from the wall to keep your feet away from touching the wall. So I've only installed 3 brackets so far. We've got one string of pull-up bars right here on this wall over here. And then the plan is to have another string of pull-up bars on this wall right over here. So it'll be about 2 more pull-up spaces. And I went with just the bare steel pipe. You can get 52-inch powder coated pipe to go in between, but that's really only if you're putting up one pull-up station. And because I wanted to string them together and get a series of them, I just ran down to Home Depot and got some 1-inch bare steel pipe that I was able to thread through there. Still need to cut the end off over here just to kind of make it look right, look nice, and fit perfectly. Moving forward, the other thing that needs to happen is putting more boards up on the walls. Now, I thought that was gonna be as simple as just putting the walls up, so cutting the boards to length and putting them up, but it turns out that I actually need to frame in these walls as well. So there was a stud back behind here. You can see this right here. This is the old wood that was originally in the barn where this stud is at, but it didn't line up perfectly with the edge of the wall down on that side. So what needed to happen is I needed to put another board or another stud on top of it right here in order to get all the boards to line up flush with things like this post here and then make them line up down into the corner. So that's taking some extra time, a little bit of extra effort, a handful of things that I have to buy. But then again, just making the cuts here, installing this wall is gonna be the next big thing, and getting it all the way up to the roof line. So overall, it's not too bad. It just takes some extra cuts because the boards aren't quite long enough to make it all the way across the stretch of the wall. So I'm trying to not let it be all have one seam across the wall either. So you have to cut smaller pieces. Like right here, I got to fill in that gap so that these pieces don't have one line all across one center of the wall. It would look really weird that way. So trying to avoid that at all costs. But you can see, got a lot of work still to do, but have actually gotten a whole bunch done. So I'm really happy with both the pull-up system, the fold-out squat rack, and the next pull-up system that's gonna go in over here. All right, so that's it for the barn update for today. I hope you guys liked it. Put any questions you've got down in the comments below, and we will see you next time.